Tennessee State. Coach Eddie George and the Tennessee State Tigers are looking to change conferences ASAP. They're looking to get out of the OVC, a dying conference that is in the OVC. We're going to talk about it right after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is good people? What is good people? My name is JeffLightsyJr here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, Coach Eddie George and the Tennessee State sports program, just athletics and department in general, are looking to leave a conference that they say is dying, and that is the Ohio Valley Conference, the OVC. We're going to share my screen and read to you from an article from HBCU Game Day to share some of Coach Eddie George's thoughts and concerns. Let's take a look at it. It says, Eddie George, Tennessee State seeking stability. New conference, says Eddie George. It says, could the end be in sight for the Ohio Valley Conference in Tennessee State? A new interview by head coach Eddie George suggests so. George recently addressed the issue of conference affiliation and had some strong words, followed by the take on what's happening with the annual game versus Jackson State and Memphis, the Southern Heritage Classic. Quote, we're going into a different time and age, George said on the One Star Recruits podcast. Quote, for us now, obviously with Tennessee State, we are looking to go to a conference that has more stability. The OVC is a dying conference at this point in time, but we can continue to stay hopeful that the OVC leadership will pick and continue to add teams. But at this point, we're going to have to take into account our future and do what's best for Tennessee State. Tennessee State has been a member of the OVC since the 1986 season. At one time, Tennessee State was the only FCS HBCU in a non-HBCU conference. Hampton, North Carolina A&T since moved to the Big South, now to the CAA, or hopefully to the CAA, and are headed to the CAA. Meanwhile, the OVC has been bleeding schools at an alarming rate. The league has lost 4 schools in recent months while adding 2 others. Clearly, this has not been lost upon George, who took over the football program less than a year ago. He also spoke about the Southern Heritage Classic. It says over the past 2 weeks, Tennessee State and George have been handling a controversy about its annual date with Jackson State at the Southern Heritage Classic. After appearing to pull out of the 2022 game, Jackson State reversed its field and decided to face TSU this September, but does not plan to return in 23 or 24. George says he and JSU head coach Deion Sanders have talked about the game between the two historic HBCU programs, and they have reached some level of understanding. Quote, this arrangement has been in existence before we got here, George said. He has a unique vision for where he wants Jackson State to go, and so do I. And I get it. I'm a businessman. And when you look at the impact he's had from an attendance standpoint, and being a draw, you want to have transparency where every dollar goes and make sure it's going to the right people at the right time. So I completely understand what he's talking about. And for the foreseeable future, it might be the best thing for this to take a pause. Woo! And let it flush out and restructure the deal in a very unique way. Hey, shout out to Coach Eddie George because he's not bitter. He is not angry. He understands the business. He understands the finances. He understands that Deion Sanders is different than the previous head coaches at Jackson State. He understands that Eddie George is different than the previous head coaches at Tennessee State. And so therefore the money, yesterday's price, is not today's price. I love it so much that he is understanding in that way. He says, quote, we can always create opportunities down the line when the infrastructure is right, George said. So after this year, I think it stops and we'll try to reconvene this opportunity and this great tradition, this great match up later on down the line. Eddie George sounds like he's trying to get rid of the Southern Heritage Classic either. Mr. Fred Jones? Mr. Fred Jones could be in some trouble. He could be in some trouble. Trouble. Mr. Fred Jones is not looking good because Eddie George and Deion Sanders, they look like they're like this. They're locked in together. Let's go back because I originally made this to talk about Tennessee State leaving OVC. But potentially, allegedly, potentially, whatever. That would be great. You guys know, if you've been tuned in for me for a while, you know I've been banging the gavel, beating this drum of getting Tennessee State to the MEAC. I want to see Tennessee State in the MEAC. I wouldn't mind them being in the SWAC, but the SWAC already has 12 teams, and the SWAC and their 12 teams look like they're doing a good job. But I would love to see Tennessee State in the MEAC. I wanted them to be a combo with North Carolina A&T to go back to the MEAC, but it looks like Hampton, North Carolina A&T, as we read from that article and as it's already been reported, they are headed to the CAA after only 1 year in the Big South. So, since that is not a viable opportunity, and that doesn't look like that's going to go down, I would love to see Tennessee State in an HBCU conference. I understand Tennessee State hasn't been in an HBCU conference in a very, very long time. Tennessee State has been in the OVC since 1986, and there is a good chance the OVC, after losing 4 schools already, doesn't want to lose a 5th school and will do whatever it takes to keep Tennessee State in their conference. But Tennessee State, there's so many reasons to leave the OVC. One, besides the fact that they're losing schools and they're upgrading schools that have no business being in high-level FCS competition, nobody goes to Tennessee State games. Tennessee State average attendance, I think somebody wrote it on one of my posts. It's like under 4,000. Jackson State last year seated 42, and I think this year they'll exceed 50,000 fans a game. The Southern Heritage Classic had like 45,000 people in one game. Nobody goes to those games in Nashville. It's not because there aren't black people in Nashville. It's not because there aren't Tennessee State alums in Nashville. It's not because people don't want to go see Tennessee State. It's because they don't want to go see Tennessee State versus whatever this OVC school, Murray State. They don't want to see Tennessee State versus Murray State. They want to see Tennessee State versus Grambling. They want to see Tennessee State versus Jackson State. They want to see Tennessee State versus Southern. They want to see Tennessee State versus FAMU. That is what will put people in the stands. That's what will put, get folks to travel to Miami or to Jackson, Mississippi, or to Grambling, Louisiana, or those folks to travel to Nashville, Tennessee, and get out of their little towns. That is the draw. That is what you want to do. That is what you need to sell. Black college football, the name brand coaches. Deion Sanders versus Eddie George. Eddie George versus Hugh Jackson. Eddie George versus Willie Simmons. That is what you would be selling if you get Tennessee State in the SWAC. And that would be awesome. That would be must-see TV every single week. And even when TSU plays Pine Bluff or somebody, still a lot better than playing Murray State. Still a lot better. Still going to get better crowds. Still going to get more enthusiastic and exciting games. Still going to get bigger and better headlines. Make it happen. Miss Glenda Glover, President Dr. Glenda Glover. You guys were on my head about that doctor thing. I'm sorry. I didn't know she was a doctor. I just said President Glover. President Glenda Glover. Dr. President Glenda Glover. Let's make it happen. Let's get TSU in the SWAC. Or get them in the MEAC. Even if it's in the MEAC. Tennessee State versus Norfolk. It's pretty cool. Tennessee State versus South Carolina State. Tennessee State versus, versus some of those other MEAC schools. That'd be all right. That'd be all right. I'd love to see it. Tennessee State versus Howard. That'd be pretty cool, man. That'd be pretty awesome. That would be awesome. And then you get your Southern Heritage Classic or your matchup against Jackson State every year. And then you would get bigger and better money every year. And then you would be able to have these high value matchups and get way better attendance every single game, whether it's on the road or in person. And then you continue to grow the brand that is Tennessee State. Come on, there's just so many benefits to having Tennessee State in a HBCU conference. I get it. You haven't been in an HBCU conference in a very, very long time. Since the 80s. It's a long time. It's like going on 40 years. But those days are over. Those days are long gone. Those days are over. The HBCU conferences are the ish now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's cool. It's popular to be an HBCU conference now. And it's more lucrative for your university. And it just makes too much sense. Even if Deion Sanders, Coach Prime leaves, even if Eddie George leaves, you're setting your foundation and stability for a long time. You're setting your foundation and stability for years to come. Your recruiting footprint would be even better. It'd be even better. Your competition would be even better. People would be more in tune to your games. They'd be more up to date with what's going on. Getting 2, 3, 4,000 people in a game, that is piss poor. Even the smallest of SWAC schools do better than that. 2, 3, 4,000, even 5,000 a game. That's a fraction of what Jackson State does. It's a fraction of what Grambling does. It's a fraction of what these other schools do. Go tap in with them, man. Come on. It's enough room over here. And you get talked about more. You get more national coverage. You get more media coverage. You get more local coverage. All of that goes up. You get more people really tuned in to what's taking place with Tennessee State because they're in the SWAC or in the MEAC and not in the OVC. A dying, like as Coach George put it, a dying conference. And you get to restructure deals like your Southern Heritage Classics, which everybody's been getting screwed on for a long time. And Coach George, Eddie George, knows this. He even said it. He said, yo, we need to put a pause on that. And that's big. Him saying we need to put a pause on the Southern Heritage Classic is huge because it takes away all that bad rap. Dion, Jackson State, Ashley Robinson, it takes all that away because they were getting a lot of hell for that. But the JSU fans were saying, yo, we've been getting screwed on this deal. We've been trying to leave that for a long time. And Coach Eddie George is like, yo, I'm like them. We're trying to leave this joint too. Getting 200, 300,000 a year off an event that makes millions, not only for the city of Memphis, not only for the state of Tennessee, but also for the event organizers, the third party guys. Dion and Eddie George are like, so what the hell we need a third party for? My name is Eddie George. My name is Deion Sanders. I'm a Pro Football Hall of Famer. I'm a Heisman Trophy winner. We don't need no third party to orchestrate this game. If we want to go play in Memphis, if we want to go play in Egypt, we can make it happen. We don't need, no disrespect to Mr. Fred Jones. It sounds like he been in this business for a long time, but we don't need a third-party promoter to make a game happen between two guys that are friends already, between two historic HBCU football programs with Hall of Famers on both sides. Both College Football Hall of Fame currently and Pro Football Hall of Fame. Heisman Trophy winners, 1,000-yard rushers, Defensive Player of the Years. We don't need Fred Jones. Now, maybe back in the day they did, but this is a new day. Yesterday's price ain't today's price. Let's make it happen. Tennessee State, let's make it happen. Let's not wait. Let's not wait on this. This summer, let's start to get this ball rolling. Well, whether it's conference realignment, you see, North Carolina A&T, they pulled the trigger. The Big South was dying, and they said, yeah, let's get out of here. Let's make it happen. But North Carolina A&T, hate them or love them, hate or love North Carolina A&T. When they see an opportunity, they jump on it. They thought the Big South was the move, moving out of the MEAC to the Big South. Obviously, they didn't see this avalanche that is Deion Sanders coming to HBCU football and to these HBCU conferences. I think they might have stayed. If they knew the Deion Sanders thing was going down. I think they might have stayed in the MEAC at least another year. I think they might have stayed because I think they're going to miss out on plenty of opportunities from being in the MEAC, from taking on, the Celebration Bowl and the raised competition level that I think the MEAC is taking place in the MEAC right now. I think they might have stayed if they would have thought this was coming. But regardless, they moved over to the Big South. Big South got to dying. They got the hell up out of there. And so now Tennessee State needs to take a page out of their book. Take a page out of North Carolina A&T book. OVC dying. Let's make a move. Now, obviously, they need to get the invite from the MEAC or from the SWAC or whoever. Let's start to get these wheels turning. Coach Eddie George said, I'm a businessman. I understand how these things work. I'm about making a dollar, not only for myself, but for my program. And that's the thing about Black colleges. They lack resources. One of the way to get, he's like, yo, how can we get more resources? Well, move into a conference that's hot, or one of the two conferences that are really hot, with coaches that are really hot, for industries that is really hot, that's doing big things already, and you add our brand to that. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to expand. We're going to continue to make moves and make plays and do bigger and better things for not only ourselves, but for our people. He sees it. So let's make it happen. President Dr. Glenda Glover, let's make it happen. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Leave your thoughts in the chat. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr at the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, JeffLightsYJr, and the Black Boss channel on YouTube. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You guys have been killing the impressions and notifications on my Twitter. So shout out to y'all on my Twitter. At JLightsy7 is at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Thumbs up on your way out. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.